Hey, it's Saturday here in Sparks, Nevada. Actually, it's planet Earth. Somebody mentioned to me one time, I can't remember when, where did you go to school? I said, well, which schools are you talking about? I said, I've been to 5 major universities and I've been 5 community colleges, but I'm a student first in the cosmos. I'm a student first, above everything. Because there's always something new to learn. And then what I do is impart what I learn through experience. So experience is the teacher, or the knowledge transfer, or the data transfer, or the frequency transfer of the information. Okay? So when you're learning through love, you know that they love you, and that means that they're always thinking about what's in your best interest, because we already have everything we need because we're running a love vibration, even though it's far higher than that, right? Okay. So I wrote some things down while my previous video was sort of recording, and because I realized that what I call critical mass, people are waking up to the critical mass of the difference between a reptile and a mammal. And the importance of that cannot be understated. So I began thinking about, again, it always goes back to my childhood as a newborn when I grew up here in this timeline that I'm on right now, is what I call review. And to share a few experiences that I had that sort of put a fine point on it, okay? Which is that light and living spirit is the knowledge transfer in a bidirectional analog stereo sound receiver and transmitter. Okay, so it's like, hey, I'm a radio station, radio transmitter, just like a Kenwood. Ever been around a Kenwood stereo receiver? That's why if you go to SECCHI, S-E-C-C-H-I, the U.S. Navy's camera setup, it's called a sound library, a stereo sound library. Okay, so you know the cosmos is a musician, harmonics. And in this classroom, they're known as the back tune of harmonics, which is the evolution of what we're learning. In order to do what? Learn while we're here to raise our state of consciousness, okay? Which means we're running at a higher speed of the communication that we broadcast to others to communicate who we are in our soul core frequency, vibration, identity. That's how we learn who they are, and learning as we go who we are from what we're learning. So, for example, we keep our own student portfolio. We are doing coursework in here. So we're beginning to filter out those experiences that represent something less in value in the speed of that transmission that represents the experience we don't want to hold on to because it represents lower density vibration consciousness. So you're learning in a classroom how to gain speed. It's a speed contest. It's a track meet. That's why when I was a child, I realized I'm in a track meet against my own coursework. So how fast are we learning? So I thought one of the ways in which I would impart that is a question, because it all starts with a question, because that's how we learn, through others. So what does it mean to be autonomous? Okay? That's like a singularity unit of consciousness. Okay, when you look at a bird is a bird. When you look at an eagle is doing what an eagle does. When you look at an elephant is doing what an elephant does. Now, I'm not going to go up to that elephant and tell that elephant how to be an elephant. Okay, I'm not an elephant, so I couldn't possibly know how to be an elephant. So I'm not going to start telling an elephant how to be a mammal. Okay, even though the elephant is a mammal. Okay? So, well, actually, it's got a different name, and I forget what that is, but you get the point. In other words, I'm not going to tell another species how to be what that species is. It's aware of what it's aware of, being what it is aware of, which is itself. Just as I'm aware of what it is that I am in living spirit, so I know what I am. I am what love is in living spirit. So I can be in anything. That's right, I can be in anything. Because the infinite imagination of what it is you create is your living spirit that is in what you just created. Give a child, a little boy, a little girl, a box of crayons, and what are you going to experience through them? What they just created with their imagination. Particularly when you have a child who's never been abused. Because you can measure the vibrational speed at which they're experiencing who they are while they're creating on paper with a box of crayons what their imagination is creating with the energy that they're using to do it with. That's a measurement of what they put on paper and the speed at which they're experiencing who they are that put it there. Okay? That's autonomous. That means that that child is free to imagine and create what it chooses to imagine and create. That means that's a reality that they're experiencing at the moment that they're doing that. They're creating their own reality at the time that they're doing that. Their mind, their imagination, not held captive to something else that is external to them. They're experiencing who they are, which is their imagination. That's basic logic. Okay? So what we're talking about here is being autonomous versus hive mind. Well, we all know what a hive mind is. All you got to do is go to a beehive. Okay? They have a very specific function, don't they? I covered that once before. So what we're talking about here is when you're autonomous, you're free. You're free to create and imagine. A hive mind is held captive to what? The hive mind. Okay? So this is what we call captivity versus infinite creative imagination, correct? That's a question everybody else has got to answer. Because I can't answer that for you because you are who you are and I am who I am. I simply share with you who it is I am and how I live and experience who I am in this realm. So I know who the teacher in this class is. So when I answered them, well, what schools have I gone to? The Milky Way University campus is a university. And this is one of the classrooms. We are in a classroom. This planet is a classroom. Okay? So that's why when I was a child growing up, it's like, hey, you're going in the wrong direction. Well, again, what's wrong? What's right? That's what they feel is right for them. They're choosing their teachers, and that's their free will right to do that. Hey, I'm with her. Man, I'm glad I'm with her. I'm glad I know that. You realize how blessed you are. That you even know the difference between classrooms. You know she's the classroom. Okay? So I figure, uh-oh, they haven't learned that yet. Well, it's not my job to tell them that because that's their free will to learn that. They're on their own learning journey. I'm not going to impose on them to try and tell them this is the way it's got to be, unless they're harming others. Because the law on this planet is what love is, which is first law. So the Indians are the peacekeepers. Okay? So we have a responsibility, if you will, to maintain the security and the order and the peace in her classroom. And this is no different when you scale it up, go to a high school, and they got security, don't they? They got security in high school, in a middle school, okay? Don't they? So the Indians and the tribes, the clans, if you will, are the security. We are the homeland security of planet Earth in her classroom. Okay? So when you're learning things through what I've learned, you're learning from those who are the peacekeepers. We maintain the security in this classroom for her. Not that she can't do it all by herself, okay? But this is where you get to meet us one-on-one. The classrooms that we hold out in nature. So we introduce you to her so that you can feel her powerful energy. When you're able to make a spiritual connection in spirit with her spirit, now you know who the teacher is. You'll begin leaving their classroom in droves because you can learn faster. At least I know this because I've experienced this. I did that with some children over in Lapahoehoe and the Big Island. In being able to impart a little nature hike in 30 minutes. And you could show a child how a Milky Way works, how a vortex works, okay? How life unfolds. With love. So that we live in peace and harmony and balance in the entire cosmos. Okay? So I thought to myself, in this regard, what does it mean to be autonomous versus hive mind captivity versus infinite creative imagination? That's Neo with a goddess. Okay? The birth giver. Okay? All life comes out of a girl. Okay? It does. It's just the way it is, huh? So when you think about that, just as my living spirit is anchored to her spirit, I thrive on her energy. That's an experience. I'm experiencing the power of the girl's energy in this planet. Because when I'm out near her living magma, I know that's a girl, okay? Because there's a girl in me. That's this side, the female side. When we come in here, we come down in two downlings, one male, one female. But the hormonal structure, the way the testosterone and all that work, without giving a biology class and all that, we all know that. That's basic elementary science. A male and a female. The seed giver and the female mitochondria. I covered that already. So life comes out of her. Soul comes in through the heart. The heart is the most powerful vortex. That's connected to all the light. Source. The source of all creation. So when we get into reptile versus mammal in childhood, okay, so I'll give you an example through my own experience. My father put me in a military academy right out of the gate, first grade, okay? By the time I was in second grade, they gave me 3 stripes, okay? That's not a credit to me, that's a credit to her. Why is that? Because she's the one who gave me the heart, okay? So the heart, which is running on so much fire that is in my soul, is powering through all the circuits of both sides, the male and female, and the creative side of the female side, okay? When you're spinning and vibrating at that rate of speed, it means you are learning fast. So what does that mean? Hey kid, you get 3 stripes. I don't got to look after you. I don't got to babysit you. You learn fast. Of course. That's the mammal brain. The mammal brain learns lightning fast. Okay? Doesn't take long. Why is that? Because we don't want to be held captive. We don't want to be left behind. So you realize when you're in here, you're in a track meet. You're in a track meet against a time clock. How fast are you learning? Believe it or not, I measured that when I was a child because I realized by measuring the frequency distribution map of all the different consciousnesses that are here, there are a lot of beings on this planet that I realized were not learning at the speed at which the mammal brain can learn. And when you measure that against graduation, which was 2013, you begin to realize, uh-oh, we got a lot of folks in here that did not get their core frequency vibration up to become love and service to others, where they become a lighthouse. And if you haven't learned to become a lighthouse because you learned how what I'm sharing with you by a certain date, uh-oh. And that's why I cried buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets of tears. I cried for 4 days once. That's how much pain and suffering I can feel through the morphogenetic field structure as a result of the loss of that much light that people are experiencing because of the fear-based reptilian brain being held to that time clock. So again, we're talking about the reptile versus the mammal brain in childhood. Okay? That's why they gave me 3 stripes. That's all that is. It's a measurement of the difference between a reptile and a mammal. A reptile just doesn't learn that fast. That's why they... Why is that? Because they live in a state of fear. They live in fear of what love is, that the mammal, through the heart and the soul, is running at such a higher speed. Okay? So these are measurements. Okay? So the credit I give is to the girl on the planet, Gaia. Okay? Her. This is her equipment. I'm in her stuff. The DNA assembly, okay, in which my spirit is communicating with you, I'm in her assembly. She put it together for me. For my soul and spirit to jump into in order to experience this realm, in this classroom. So I realize we're moving at a very high rate of speed, particularly now. So, because there is a mountain of light in here. So I love you with all my light. And mammals run a higher learning speed vibration. Translation, the captain that put those stripes on me is equivalent to a grade. It's a metric. You learn fast, don't you, kid? You fucking A right, I do. How fast do you learn? I want to learn at the highest speed possible. Why is that? Because I'm in a track meet. I want to reach the highest density consciousness possible in the entire cosmos. Okay? I don't want to miss nothing. I want to be able to experience every single thing there is to experience, that there is to experience by every creator being in the entire cosmos. Because I know that they're using love to do it with. Okay? Because that's what I do. I use love to create everything I create, and that's the reality I live in. So I realized the enormity and the power of what love is and what that consciousness means when you're creating and imagining what love creates and you're in that. You are experiencing what you are creating. Okay? That's what allows us to be autonomous. Because love is free energy. We get more of what it is that we are the faster we go. Now you become big and powerful. Like the girl on the planet. She's the teacher. So they had to disconnect everybody, as many as they could, from her and from us. So the first thing they did was kill off all the clan mothers, the birth givers of the higher resonant frequencies they run on. Connected to the girl on the planet, connected to Source, and all the light in the galaxy, and everything else that is connected with the light, in which all that information, which is all that knowledge transfer, is taking place. It's like being in the mind of the cosmos, and then there's your mind. You want to run at the highest speed that the entire mind of the entire cosmos is running at, so you don't miss anything. So what it boils down to is we're running with our soul, which is a higher functionality of infinite creativity. Go give a little boy or girl a box of crayons and what happens? That's simple. What we experience from them is their creative imagination. That imagination creates a different reality. So you become what it is you experience, and you're the one who's choosing that experience. So what it means is so many people are held to the lower density frequency experiences that they had as a result of what happened here. Okay? So that's autonomous creation at work, isn't it? That's why in higher densities we don't have political systems. Okay? Everybody's free to be who they are. Nobody lives in fear of each other. Nobody's doing harm to each other. Hey, you're free. There's no need for any security because love is the law, because love is the vibration we're running on. So we experience their imagination, they experience our imagination. So together it's like spinning in a vortex, a huge mosaic of colors and ways, okay, and beautiful music and spirit we dance to. It's like I said to a few girls yesterday, because this is what I experienced. When was the last time you girls went out and went dancing with anybody? Raised your spirit, played an instrument. Do you play an instrument at all? Ever played an instrument? You know, stuff like that. Ever been an artist? Ever done anything on your own? Ever created anything of your own? Okay? In other words, not something that somebody presented to you. I'm talking about something that you created on your own and traded for something else. Or just gave it away. That's what was always the biggest challenge for me when I was here. I want to give everything away because I don't hold anything captive. Because I'm not the material part of the cosmos. I am the spiritual part of the cosmos, like all living spirit is. Just like her living spirit is. So we are not hierarchical. Reptiles are hierarchical. Why is it? To maintain control. Obey. You will obey us. So that means they live in fear. So what that means is that your state of consciousness, because it's lower speed vibration, is in vibrational alignment with a reptile. So the mammals are saying goodbye to the reptiles. Bye. Time's up. Class dismissed. That's why we're running out of time. So I was thinking about, and I wrote this down because I didn't want to forget it, but when I was living on the Big Island, I was staying on a farm that was run by a couple of lizards, okay? And they admitted that. So that's self-identification. Because they said to me one time, we're not monkeys. So I thought to myself privately, because I don't like to do anything that's going to lower somebody's frequency, and I don't want to engage in anything that's going to create any conflict. Okay? But it informed me of who they are. And of course I know who they are when they say that. I actually already knew that by how much they accumulated. Okay? So I thought to myself, I know you're lizards. Okay? Lower on the speed. Okay? You don't run as fast as we do, which means you don't learn as fast as we do. Okay? You're reptiles. Okay? I'm a mammal. Okay? So I run on a mammal brain in my living spirit, and I use my heart because we're love-based. So therefore, that's a higher frequency. That's a higher vibration. That means we learn faster than you lizards do. Okay? I mean, I didn't invent this. Okay? It's just things you learn along your journey of learning. Okay? So that's what it boils down to, is taking responsibility for what you learn. And the higher in the speed in which you're learning things, the faster you're moving in density consciousness. Up the food chain, if you want to call it that way. But it's I call it the speed chain. It's like running a speed contest. You're in a track meet, but really the track meet is against yourself. Because you're autonomous yourself. You're your own unit of consciousness. Okay? So what it is that you're experiencing through your own state of consciousness and living spirit with your soul, that's up to you. Okay? But I can tell you from a teacher's point of view, although I don't like to use that word because it represents through cultural mind programming that a teacher is an authority figure. I'm not an authority figure. Okay? That's one of the reasons why, as I was moving up in rank, whether I worked in private industry or with the government working in wildland fire, it's easy to move up the rank. Because one of the things they look at in what I call the rank and file, the blue-collar workers, right? If you're white-collar, they're looking for beings that don't need to be supervised or parented, which means they don't need a parent. These beings learn so fast, and they have so much creativity. That's an asset. So if you're the CEO of a company, they're going, my God, I could make a mountain of money off this guy. This guy thinks at a rate of speed in which, hell, I'm going to put this guy in a job that I know he can accomplish 1 million tasks per day. That's why when I worked in different corporations, they had me running numbers all day long. And most of the time, I didn't need a calculator because the calculator, the speed at which you can crunch data through our own processor is faster than any calculator. And that's the truth of it. Okay, I remember one time I went to Palomar Observatory, and it said that this particular nebula that the telescope had taken, which at the time Palomar was one of the biggest telescopes, on the planet, and we said that if you were traveling at the speed of light, and of course the speed of light is based on the observer and the vibrational speed at which they experience who they are, which means you're essentially observing yourself in a bidirectional mirror, the speed in which you're going, not somebody else. You're going, okay? So anyway, it said that if you were traveling at the speed of light, meaning their speed of light, the light at which was transmitting what it is that was caught on camera by that telescope is already gone. Okay, it means if you could get there, it's not there anymore. So I did that calculation using a pencil and a 26 pad and one of those yellow pads, legal pads, with as many zeros as I could run. And I'm going, okay, well, what if I told you I could be there in an instant? Okay, which means it's still there. Can I do that? Yes. But you got to learn how to be able to do that. Now, I mentioned that in a previous video. I can be wherever I want to be in the entire cosmos. Just that fast. So in other words, there isn't any time. Right. So anyway, we're not hierarchical. We're not held to a time clock and money systems. Okay? You understand that whenever you manifested something. As a matter of fact, one of the videos that I did yesterday about how my timeline had shifted because I missed the doctor's appointment, and that meant that my future self decided to do that. Remember, future proves past. The past event is based on what the future self did, which you already know. So that's like your future self already knows that the timeline that you're on is why I missed that appointment. Okay? So that's sort of how it works. But what I thought of is you see how they're all linked, okay, together. So the proof of that was about 4 days before I realized, hey, I think I got an appointment coming up. I'd have an x-ray done, something like that, right? And then I thought, oh, but wait, I got to see my doctor. So I thought, I need to change that appointment to the 13th, which is right around when I fill my prescription. I'm only on one, fortunately, and I'm trying to get rid of that one. So I'm on nothing. So I'm back to analog energy instead of artificial intelligence shit. And so guess what? I had picked the 13th on my mind 4 days before what happened yesterday. So in the bus station, when I said that I had to reschedule my appointment, guess what day they gave me? You're not going to believe this. That's right, the 13th of October. What I had put into my mind that I wanted, which was the 13th, came true, didn't it? I changed my timeline 4 days before. You see how that works? Cool, huh? Anyway, so as I realized as time went on, one of the reasons that I began realizing why I was rising in rank, particularly in fire, is I realized that I was around a lot of other guys that had rank that run reptile brains. Now, when it comes into wildland firefighting, I don't want a reptile running my crew or a crew that I'm on, because the chances are this guy is going to burn the crew up. So I figured I better get to the top so I can protect the firefighters within me, because I'm native spirit, native to the planet. So when I'm in nature and there's a fire burning, I know how to communicate with that spirit, because I got a lot of spirit of fire in me. Okay? So I'm going to make sure that that crew never gets hurt. So when you sort of know these things, you begin to realize why they pin bars on us. It's not because of the bars. It's because of what love is. We love you first. Okay? So we got to take care of things. And that's the nature of an empath, because an empath already knows the future. Okay? So we got to make sure that we maintain the timeline, which means we're not into pain and suffering. So we got to make sure that nobody suffers and lowers their energy. We got to maintain the density consciousness of higher density consciousness, because that's our home. Okay? We come in here as teachers, okay, to be peacekeepers, and we're running out of time. So how many of you are raising a frequency, living through their heart, showing as much love as they can to themselves? It starts with the love that you feel for yourself first. When you are what love is, when you're running that vibration, and you know, God, I love this energy, okay, then you know the energy that you love to be. And when you are experiencing energy, you don't want